does gutsy mean to you?
I think gutsy means getting up and doing it again. So we heard today about my story about how there was a lot of failures and there was a lot of hardships, both personally and professionally. But really, it was the resilience to get up and do it again that has led me to the path, which I know that is the path that I'm supposed to be on today. So gutsy to me really means persevering, even when you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
You're listening to the Gutsy Podcast, where we talk about all things real, raw, and ridiculous about running a business authentically. Whether you need an inspirational pick-me-up or a swift kick in the mental ass, the Gutsy Podcast is your bi-weekly guide to getting out of your head and back into action. I'm Laura Ora, branding and mindset coach for female entrepreneurs, and your host on this journey through entrepreneurship. It's time to fuel your gutsy. Two failing businesses, bankruptcy, mental health issues, and cancer. These are all things that today's guest has overcome and grew beyond to create a $10 million business teaching 40,000 plus students around the world. What helped her do this? Discovering her wow factor, embracing who she really is, and using skills from each phase of her life to create a dream business. Civil engineer, serial entrepreneur, and TV star Amber Renae inspires women to discover their wow factor through building their dream digital business, personal branding, and self-love. Australia's leading voice in online business, Amber educates thousands of students in all corners of the globe on a range of topics from entrepreneurship, digital marketing, influencer marketing, and the power of personal branding. She's the star of the hit US reality show Dream Life, which documents the creation of her latest e-learning project, and is the author of Dream Life, the book. Before we dig into this, Amber and I talk about mindset and how that plays such an important role in everything that you do. You know that those thoughts are either going to propel you forward or it's going to continue to talk you out of everything that you keep dreaming about. That's why I recorded and created a free 5-day podcast experience to teach you the foundations of getting out of your own way. This is going to teach you a clear and simple method that's going to allow you to not only reframe your thoughts, but you're going to nurture your inner child and learn how to take your power back in your life and in your business. If you're ready to step back into the driver's seat of your mind, instead of that thing running you all over the damn place, go to lauraora.com/foundations, sign up, and I'll send you the first episode immediately. All right, Amber's got an incredible story to share with you, so let's get into today's episode. The lovely Amber Renae, all the way from Australia. Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
I'm so excited to be here, Laura. And for the listeners, Laura just took us through a beautiful connection on the way in. So I'm feeling very divinely tuned into you and your audience. I'm looking forward to sharing some wisdom.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's something that I integrated somewhat recently, I feel like maybe within the last year or so, just pausing and connecting with the space that we're in and the energy that we're about to embark and create together. It just sets a whole different tone. So I appreciate that you appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
So we're gonna go down a couple of different paths today. I think we're mainly going to focus on discovering and stepping into your wow factor, which is a subject that I don't think that we've covered yet on the Gutsy Podcast. So I'm excited about that. But every great story starts with another one, right? And you have got quite a journey that I would love to just share and chat about. So talk to me a little bit about your journey and what has led you to where you are today.
Well, my entrepreneurial journey is not what we see on Instagram these days. We all see like hashtag entrepreneur life and it looks so easy and glamorous. And mine didn't actually look that way. I used to be a construction engineer working on a construction site building roads and bridges, quit that and started my first business as a fashion designer. That business started with me on a sewing machine. I made 4 shirts the first week and sold 4 shirts, made 8 shirts the next week and sold 8 shirts. And then 5 years later, I had 120 accounts around the world, exported to Paris, Tokyo, LA, and South Africa, and dressed some of the biggest celebrities of the time, which back in the day was Paris Hilton. And this was before kind of social media. So we were doing influencer marketing with the original influencer before this was even a thing. I thought I would have that business for the rest of my life. It's all I ever dreamed of doing since I was a little girl. But the universe had bigger plans for me. My manufacturer went out of business, which caused me to go out of business, and I was left with so much debt that I had to go bankrupt. And I'd basically worked myself to death in that business. I worked 7 days a week for about 6 or 7 years straight. Didn't take a day off. Didn't take my birthday off. Worked every Christmas day, and as a result, my body basically collapsed. I was hospitalized with cancer, stomach ulcers. I was on anti-anxiety, antidepressant tablets and had basically nothing left. So I couldn't try and revamp the business. Couldn't even get out of bed. So that
Wow.
was my first foray into entrepreneurship. And I swore I would never run another business again. And that lasted about a year until I started my second business, which was a fashion consulting business. So this was, I'm sure a lot of your audience are in this type of company at the moment. So you're trading time for your dollars. So you're doing one client, showing up, servicing one client. At the end of the day, you have to go and hustle for more clients. And at the end of the week, you've either overworked yourself or you haven't had enough clients. So that was my second business model. And again, I started with that business with nothing. I started with no clue, no idea. I just went out there and hustled and worked for free until I started getting some traction. I really started developing my branding and my wow factor, which is what we're going to talk about in this business, where I was eventually working with celebrities. So a lot of these celebrities I was working with, they were what you would call a D-lister, I guess, because I was an entry-level celebrity stylist. But through the power of branding and personal branding and fashion, we started really rising up their visibility. So they started getting much better invites to events. They started getting photographed on the red carpet. And I had a couple that went from D-list to front page of the newspaper as best dressed in a lot of the events. So this is where I really started understanding like, wow, you can really hack this sort of appearance, personal brand, wow factor just by the way that you're showing up in the world. So in that business, I started from scratch. 3 years into the business, I got three of the best contracts in the country. So I was the resident stylist at the biggest radio and TV network in the country. I was the fashion editor at a glossy national publication, and I was the TV presenter for Fashion TV. So I thought I was living my little fashionista best life. I was interviewing celebrities on red carpets. I was dressing celebrities for events like the Cannes Film Festival. Again, I thought this was as good as it was going to get for my life. I was going to do it till the day I died. But again, the universe had other plans for me. And that business, I lost all of my contracts in the space of a month due to the effects of the GFC. I was unemployed and unemployable. I couldn't even get a bar job. I tried to go back to the construction site. They didn't want to take me. All I had left was just this knowledge of, this decade of working in the fashion industry and what I could share with other people with this knowledge. So back in 2015, my brother said to me, you need to teach this in an e-course. And so I was like, well, what even is an e-course? No one knew what an e-course was back then. But I sat down and I recorded everything I knew using my iPhone, sitting in my wardrobe, and I explained how to be a celebrity fashion stylist. And I taught everything I knew, put it on the internet. And then since then, it's really been this natural evolution of me following what I was passionate about at the time, which back then was digital marketing. I really was so passionate about learning about online business and digital marketing and email marketing, Facebook ads, and hacking the algorithm and all these things. And it really became a huge passion of mine. So I just followed that passion, not knowing that it was going to lead to this huge business. It was just something that I was really interested in doing. I would watch digital marketing YouTube clips on the weekend and study courses about Facebook ads on a Sunday, not sexy, but it was just something I loved. And as a result, that business has now turned into what we see today. So I have 4 evergreen courses. So evergreen means they run on autopilot and they make sales no matter if I'm working on them or not. I have a done for you course creation agency, and I've recently written the book about online business. So this was something that I created to help people get their knowledge into the world in a really affordable way because, the world has been a little bit crazy right now, and I knew that we couldn't all afford a big course. So I took the best of my work and put it into a really affordable book called Dream Life. So that's what you see today.
Wow. See, this is why I love talking about the story behind the story. Because if you took a quick glance at your stunning Instagram page, you would have no idea, right? It's not until you get to know someone and learn their story. And I think that the story is such a huge part of a brand and how you're communicating and relating with people. But this is why we have these vulnerable conversations, because it's so easy, and I'm certain that you experience this as well, to look at something or someone and just immediately think, well, she's got it made, it's easy for her. And it it may be now, and it's not to say that it's not without its challenges, but it's only because you continued even through some of the hardest things that a human could ever endure.
And I think we all look at everyone else and we reflect back our own insecurities. So I often look at people and go, yeah, but they had rich parents because my parents were so poor, or like they went to a really good school and I didn't go to a good school. So that's probably why they're successful. Like I do it as well. Like I'm absolutely guilty of looking at other people and going, yeah, well, they have the thing that I don't have. But I think if we peel back every single successful person's story, like I know for a fact that all the people that are most successful have had huge failures. And in fact, they say that most millionaires have failed. I think the average is three businesses before they get to the one that actually makes them the million.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, between those people and even through your own story of just continuously coming back, right? There's something about the entrepreneurial spirit, right? Like when it's in you, it's just in you. But what do you think helped you and continued you to push back and say, no, this isn't, I'm not going to settle for this. There's more. I'm meant for more here.
So my dad graduated from his engineering degree a very, very long time ago, and he got the first job that he got out of uni, which was for one particular roads company here in Australia. And he retired from that one position. He never went up the ranks and became the boss of that company or anything. He retired from that exact same position, whatever it was, 60 years later. He hated every single day of his life. He
Mm.
hated going to work. He hated his job every single day. He came home in a bad mood every single day, but he had four kids to feed and he had to go to work, and he wasn't entrepreneurial minded. I'm sure he could have gone and created other things. He's incredibly intelligent, but he just wasn't that way inclined. He was the very old fashioned, get your degree, you get your job, you stay in that job, you feed your kids, you buy your house. And I just watched my dad my whole life and thought, oh, I'm absolutely not doing that. That is no way for me to live. And I remember even when I was an engineer, I used to just stand on the construction site going, there has to be a way that I could just get paid for the things that I love, like just get paid for doing something, that I really want to do. And I used to just say that over and over and over again, not realizing that I was actually manifesting the life that I've since gone on to lead.
Mm. Yeah, we've all seen and been in the presence of role models and people in our lives where friends, family, right? That just their jobs, their careers just suck the soul out of them. And there's so many options, but it's really about having the courage and the gutsy to lean in to make that change, right? Because
Mhm.
it feels easier to keep doing the thing that you hate, even though it's chipping away at you each day. It's harder to lean in and create something new, or to change a standard or go against the grain. But the opportunities on the other side of that are limitless.
I love what you said there, Gutsy. I love the little tie-in with the brand, but also that's really all that it takes because what we're afraid of is that we're going to fail and we're going to have to go back to our day job. But that's going to happen anyway. Like if you fail, you're going to have to go back to your day job anyway. And if you don't even try, you're going to be stuck in your day job anyway. So, the harm in trying is that it may work or it may not work. And I always think when looking at these things, don't expect them to be these huge businesses that you're aspiring to. Just expect them, like if you're in a job and you're thinking that you've got a side hustle in you, don't expect that side hustle to replace your income and start paying your bills because then you're putting so much external pressure on this for it to succeed. It has to work, it has to pay the bills. And if it doesn't, then you're getting into this whole, oh, I failed, I'm a failure. Lots of identity is wrapped up in that. But if you're looking at this and going, oh, I think I want to start a little side hustle of something that's going to enrich my life, let it just be that for the time being. Let it be something that you get home from your shitty day job and then you go and do something that lights you up for a couple of hours. And then you're feeling a little more inspired in your life. And then you don't really mind going at your day job for 9 to 5 because then you've got something exciting to go home to. So I always like to think of it that way, that it's not putting so much pressure on the thing to pay the bills.
That's a good point, because I think that we go from like it's all or nothing, it's black or white, it's either or, but this kind of tip of the scale or shifting things, or kind of giving it the time and the space that it needs to really grow, and also to give yourself the time and the space to grow into it, right? Like, especially if you're making a big change or you're implementing something new, it takes your body and your mind a hot minute to acclimate to this whole new world. Because entrepreneurialism, as we've just heard, it is not for the faint of heart. It is not simple. It is certainly not predictable or a straight road.
I think about entrepreneurship as the biggest personal development journey that you could go on. So if you're interested in personal development, if that's a passion of yours, then just go start a business. You don't even have to go and study any courses, just start a business and you'll be faced with every single fear that you've ever had in your entire life. And you'll be forced to face all of those fears.
Uh,
And especially being females and doing things like obviously being a personal brand these days requires so much time online and putting your face online and putting your voice online. And this is something that females really struggle with. So if this is, if you're in your job and then you're suddenly trying to create content 5 days a week, that's a huge change from like sitting at a desk and not having to speak up in a meeting to having to record 5 videos in 1 week. There's a massive difference in that. So I love what you say there in terms of letting your body acclimate and letting learn the skills and letting the skills digest a little bit before you start having to force them to pay the bills and be the one thing.
absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. I always tell anybody in my world, your fears, your worries, your thoughts, your beliefs do not go away. When you become an entrepreneur, they get amplified.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a lot of curtain pulling back very, very quickly. I can't help but believe that something shifted within you between business 1, 2, and 3, right? One was a learning experience, as was 2, but something changed with this business that you're in right now. Tell me, what is different in the way that you're either approaching it, the way that you're looking at it, feeling, thinking, doing? What's different in this business?
I feel like this business is the first time that I've really understood how the universe works and the divinity of the path that we've all been put on. So
Mm,
the first business was a manufacturing business. It took a lot of my engineering background because running a fashion label, although it sounds creative, it's actually just running a manufacturing line. So you're, buying stock, you're moving stock, you're manufacturing something. So that was very much what I did in the engineering business. So that was using that background in the fashion consulting business that was very creative and very forward facing. There was a lot of this glam and interviewing and speaking and that kind of thing, but there was no engineering. So I could do that, with 3 drinks. I could be halfway drunk on any job of that and didn't have to use my brain at all. It was all just about using the creative side. Whereas in this business, I feel like I'm joining everything that I've ever learned along the way to create the business that you see now. So in this one, I use a lot of my engineering degree to create, to read Facebook ads and look at algorithms and look at data and that kind of thing. And a lot of obviously the creative side to write all the content and make the beautiful imagery. So this, I really feel like, is a wrap up of everything that I've ever learned. And there was the quote from Steve Jobs. He talks about how he studied calligraphy in his first year of university as an electoral lesson. Like, he wasn't part of his curriculum. He just wanted to go and study calligraphy. And that was why when he created the Mac had beautiful fonts. And so you see this evolution that people go on in their lives that really lead them to the thing that they're meant to be doing. And so again, when I'm hearing people going, oh, I think I want to do the thing, but I'm scared or I'm fearful. Well, whatever path you go down, it may just be your stepping stone onto the next path that really is a thing that you're meant to be doing.
I couldn't agree more. The universe and your path have already been designed, right? Like, it is already done. And I think that here on this physical earth, we are following the breadcrumbs of our path. And so learning skills, testing out, going through challenges, even like I just picture us each individually walking our own path and just like picking up this knowledge and this wisdom and these lessons along the way until it finally gets to the point where it all molds together, right? And like things start working well and you're moving in the right direction and things don't feel heavy anymore. And like, all I want everyone to know that all of that is possible, but you've got to keep leaning into it and picking up the breadcrumbs because they're not going to come for you, right?
I think if you keep walking down the path, it's not only possible, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So I think the path has been put there in order for you to keep learning the lessons that you said that you're going to learn in this lifetime, and that you will eventually get to, the harmony of it all, where it all sort of starts blending together, and whether it blends together in a business or whether it just blends together in your mindset. So you might just get to a point in life, which is sort of where I'm at these days, where I'm like, well, if this business gets taken away, I'll just do the next thing, because
Mm.
I'm confident in my skills. I'm confident in my abilities. I know I can learn anything that I want to learn. I'm a very good learner. That's proven. I've proven that to myself with my own dedication. So those skills and abilities is something that I will take with me for the rest of my life. And now it's just a mindset. So even if this business, if the internet decides to die and we no longer have internet marketing, then I'll just do the next thing, which is a great way to think of your life, I think.
Yeah, I that's a really beautiful way to look at it. And I'm going to toot your horn here for a second because just so everyone can see this whole story full circle, now with 40,000 students, 40,000 plus students, 9 years of teaching online and 10 million plus generated in sales. It's like this kind of fucking works.
It'll eventually work if you keep showing up. Yes. And
Yes.
if you keep going down the path, I mean, I think in hindsight, I probably should have quit both the early businesses before they quit me, I guess. I'm very much like, I'll just hang on to it and I'll work harder and I'll keep going. But to be fair, we were growing year on year, but it was just, I knew something in my heart or in my gut that they weren't they weren't the thing. Both of those business models are faulty business models, in my opinion. So the manufacturing is a completely backwards, faulty business model. You pay for everything 6 months in advance of when you get paid for the thing. So imagine like spending money 6 months in advance in the hope that someone's going to pay you back that money 6 months later. So it's a
Mm.
completely wrong business model. And the consulting was as well. I was often quite frustrated with the celebrity styling, fashion styling consulting because I was great at that. And I was getting paid the same rate that the worst stylist was getting paid because that's what stylists got paid. So it didn't matter that in my note, I'm going to toot my own horn. I was really good at that, but it didn't matter because a stylist rate was that amount. So again, I was quite frustrated in that that's what the industry was paying. And it didn't matter if I wanted to work more hours. I could only physically work so many hours in the day. So I couldn't get paid any more money. So again, there was always something in my head that sort of said, again, not quite right. Doesn't The business model is still a little bit faulty, and neither of those businesses offered any type of freedom. The day that I stopped working in my consulting business was the day I stopped getting paid.
Mm.
Similarly, in the fashion label, the day that I took the stops out, like that day was the day that we stopped earning money. So again, there was something in me that just thought, well, there's got to be something smarter than this. Has to be.
So you brought up a good point that I'd love to ask you is you said looking back I would have left them before they left me, the businesses. How would you know that? So if somebody might be considering or thinking about that now, how might you pinpoint when it was time to actually step out?
It's a gut feeling. So for a long time, both of those businesses was the only thing I ever wanted to do. But I do remember at the end of both of them, they felt drudgery. They felt heavy. I'd wake up in the morning like, oh no, I've got to go to the factory and look at clothing, or like, oh no, I've got to dress another celebrity. Oh my gosh, I do not want to do this. So I think once that energy, that vibrancy, that potency leaves you, it's time to start pivoting and finding the next thing that you're really passionate about, because the energy of creation, the energy of money flow, the energy of abundance is that energy of aliveness. So you're never going to be able to manifest any kind of wealth or success if you're in the energy of, oh, this sucks, drudgery, don't want to be here. So making sure that you're heading towards that energy every day.
Remember that free podcast thing that I told you about at the beginning of this episode, the foundations of getting out of your own way? Yeah, listen, this is literally the process that I didn't know I was creating, but created and used to break free from an old business, to change habits, to change the way that I see things, to boost my confidence, to take calculated risks, and maybe most importantly, to learn to not stop myself. Every day for 5 days, I'm going to send you short and sweet episodes where I'm going to get into your brain, okay? I'm going to help you open your perspective and challenge those limitations. And I'll teach you the how. How do I get out of the hamster wheel of my own thoughts? How do I stop beating myself up? Listen, it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen, especially when you have the tools and the support around you. So either scroll down into the show notes and click on the link, or go to lauraora.com/foundations and I'll send you the first episode. Why are we waiting anymore, friend? You know you're ready to move forward, and I'm ready to help you. That's a great look. Before I sold my first business, so my very first business wasn't in branding. I had a branding agency for 16 years. And I can remember it starting to have that density that you're talking about, that heaviness, that like procrastination, right? Putting things off, not getting excited about it anymore, not pushing it, not wanting to grow it. And it's like, look, the energy does not lie. But as humans, our role and our responsibility is to lean in and trust that and to take action with it. And sometimes we listen and we move on, and sometimes we don't and we learn. And either one is fine because that's the way it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that energy, I would imagine, also plays into what we're digging into now, which is the wow factor. So tell me, what do you see is this wow factor? Like what is the embodiment? What is this energy? Tell me what this is all about.
Well, this was something I sort of realized. I mean, I learned it in the celebrity styling, but then I kind of realized that it applied to this industry way back in one of my first, probably the first year I was in this industry. I was studying so many masterclasses and watching so many webinars and free trainings and taking everyone's courses. And I remember watching this one woman. She had incredible knowledge and she was speaking on a very big stage, so a stage that we would all know. And what she was saying was very clever, very intelligent, really smart woman, but she was dressed very what I would call slobbily. And so I was looking at her as a stylist, as someone who's done this, dress celebrities for a living. I was looking at her going, I can't, I'm not buying your message because you're dressed in a shabby way. And therefore, I don't believe anything that you're saying. And I remember having this sort of epiphany watching this going on, going, why don't I believe her? And it kind of all came to me as I was watching this woman, because I'm like, but what she's saying is very, very intelligent, but I don't buy it. And the reason that I don't buy it is because of this whole communication style rule, which I can share with you now. So there was a study done by Dr. Albert Mehrabian, and he talks about the 3 different types of communication. They're broken down into 55%, which is your body language, so non-verbal cues. So the way that you're moving your hands, the way that you're, non-verbally communicating. 38% is through your tone of voice, your speech and grammar, and 7% is through the actual words that you're saying. So when we communicate, 7% is what we're actually saying, and the other 93% is how we're saying it. So how are we showing up? How are we presenting ourselves? What's the tone of voice? What are we using? Are we using our hands? What are they doing? So this to me is remarkable because it shows that as humans, we are hardwired to make judgments on people based on what we're seeing immediately before we even learn what they're saying, before we know what their message is. And what's great about that is that we can hack that, right? So we can hack the 55%, the 38%. We can learn all those things about presenting and tone of voice and speech and grammar. And when I look at the digital space in particular, Facebook qualifies an ad as being viewed if somebody views the ad for 3 seconds or more. So if I reverse that, I think, well, okay, so what have I learned about someone in the first 3 seconds of their video? Not a lot. I don't know what they stand for. I haven't heard what their message is. I don't know what they're pitching me. I haven't heard their offer. I don't know anything about them. But what I've learned about the 3 seconds is whether I like how they're showing up or not. So that's a absolute judgment based on appearance and quality of voice. And that's what Facebook is deeming a video view in their ad platform. So again, that tells me that we're making those decisions within 3 seconds. So again, I think, how are we going to reverse that in our business?
Wow. It's interesting, the psychology and even just how Facebook and I'm sure other platforms are measuring these things, and how long we're staying, how long we're viewing, are we leaning into this further? And it's really interesting too. And I'd love your take on this, because I think that the way that we present ourselves clearly is a huge part of our business, right? But there's such a a huge spectrum of how people are and who they are and how they show up, right? And so there's not one way to show up. There's a spectrum, right? Because it's not always about the best dressed or the whatever. Everyone has such a unique tone and brand and way that they show up that attracts the right people to them. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Totally. And not everyone is for everyone. So not everyone is going to look at me and go, oh, I love the red lips and red nails. A lot of people are going to look at that and be like, she is absolutely not for me. And that's great. That's what you want. You want people to either be raving fans or absolutely not interested in you. You don't want wishy-washy because wishy-washy doesn't buy. So you want people who are like, oh my God, she's my girl. And that is, as you say, it could be anything. It could be that you're quirky. It could be that you're funny. It could be that you're any characteristic under the sun, as long as you're being your authentic self and really showing people who you really are. So for me, I really do walk around most days looking like this. So this is how I really am. This is what my people like from me. And I can't tell you the number of people that have said, oh, I saw you on this podcast, you had this, fabulous headband, and I just thought, well, you're my girl. And that's why they bought my course, which sounds bizarre, but it is how we make purchase decisions. So these days we all have competitors in selling kind of the same thing that we are selling. The reason someone will connect with you and purchase your product, program, service, offering is because they're connecting with the person behind the brand. So that's why it's super important, even if you are a service offering. So if you're like a graphic designer or a branding agency, it is really important to be the face of the brand and to let people connect with you because that you're the reason that we're buying your service as opposed to your competitors' services. And again, it sounds counterintuitive because you're like, well, no, if I'm a branding agency, they're just going to buy my branding work. But a lot of the times they go, well, I really want to work with you because I really like you, Laura Ora. That's why I want to come and buy from you. So that's something to keep in mind when you're thinking about what kind of content you're putting out.
Yeah, and I think that there's a kind of a journey in figuring out that wow factor for yourself, right? Like I think I'm still figuring that out. You know what I mean? And I think that we're always on that journey of it. But what are some ways that you can start to discover what that is for you?
Mm-hmm. The easiest thing that you can do for yourself today is to dress for your body shape and skin tone. So, with body shape, there's 5 different body shapes that you can learn. I've probably got a PDF somewhere, but dressing for your body shape immediately simplifies every dressing occasion. So you can just go to a shop and immediately know what is going to fit you. It also helps with online shopping. So all those things that you buy online that don't fit you, that you have to return, that goes away when you learn to dress for your body shape. And then skin tone, especially with the world of Zoom and everyone being online, making sure that you've got the right skin tone top on for your skin tone is super important. And again, this is so easy to learn. Like once you learn what your skin tone is, forevermore it's the same tone. It doesn't change. You can just go to the shops and buy an entire wardrobe that's based to the skin tone. And it's a difference between looking really pale and washed out and looking really fresh. So I can do a very quick test that's easy to talk about in a podcast for people that are listening and watching. If you go and hold a piece of charcoal fabric, so charcoal gray, dark gray color, and a piece of beige, I think you guys call it khaki fabric. And if you hold them up against, go and stand in some natural lighting, so facing a window, and hold them up and put your camera in front of you and see which one looks better against your skin tone. So for anyone who's listening, I'm holding my beige imaginary fabric right up under my chin and my charcoal imaginary fabric right up under my chin. And I'm looking at my reflection with natural lighting. When you do this, you will notice that one of these colors makes your eyes pop, makes your cheeks glow, makes your teeth look really white. And one of the colors makes you look like you've got dark circles under your eyes, makes you look a little tired, like you need to have a little nap. So that's the easiest way that you can do it right now at home to understand which skin tone you are. If the charcoal fabric makes you glow, look alive, look fresh, then you have a cool skin tone. And if the beige fabric makes you look alive, makes you look fresh, then you have a warm skin tone. So if you have a cool skin tone, your best colors are things like the colors of the rainbow, blue, red, white, black, bright yellows, bright purples. those kind of shades. And then also pastel pinks, pastel lemons, pastel blues, pastels, that kind of shades. If you're a warm skin tone, the easiest way to describe it is if you're looking at a color and you're not sure what to name that color. So for
Mm.
instance, if I was to say maroon, we're all thinking of a different color, maroon. Maroony being that reddy, browny, maroony color. Like if I had to say beige, everyone doesn't really know what color if beige is. If I say like forest green, we're all like, I don't really know what color forest green is. So all those sort of weird colors that could be called a couple of different colors. That's sort of the easiest way to explain it without having color palettes on my hand. But if hopefully that makes sense. And if you're on the warm side, your colors are things like peach, salmon, beige, khaki, sea moss, like mixed blended colors, not true to color.
Oh, that see, you just simplified that so much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of content out right now, I feel like, about color matching and finding your color
Oh, I'm
palettes.
sure you could find it.
And there's
Yes.
and there's like summer and fall and warm summer and cool winter, and like I try with the little app where you put your face in it, and I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know, I feel like it all looks fine. So I like how you broke that down, just starting with those two simple colors and then
Mm.
just leaning into those, whether they're those kind of true out of the box, so to speak, colors, or if I like that, if you don't know how to name the color, that's probably the path for you. I
Yeah.
really like that.
Great.
So I think that's a great way to start, like leaning into, just like the visual and how you're showing up. And that's a huge part of what makes you who you are. I think that sometimes though people hesitate and they're not sure, like even what their style is, or what makes them feel wow to themselves, because I'm as you know, when you feel really good about yourself and what you're wearing, you just present differently. It's
Mhm.
just the way that it is. So, what do you recommend to the people that are like, I don't even know where to begin? I don't know what my style is. Like, nothing's really resonating with me.
So go back through your photographs and look for the photographs that when you wore that particular outfit, top, dress, whatever it was, you got a bunch of compliments.
Mm,
Or the outfit that when you wore it, you were strutting down the street going, I don't care what anyone thinks. I feel so good in this outfit. So we all naturally know what makes us look good and feel good. We all know that naturally. But then we get confused because we're taking in all the messages from ads and from, fashion industry. So, but we all inherently know what makes us feel good. So just go to your wardrobe, pull out all the things that you're like, oh my God, I love this dress. I could wear this dress every day. It doesn't matter if it's a cocktail dress and you would only wear it to a cocktail occasion. Pull all those things out, lay them all on your bed, and then start having some analysis around, is it the same color that I really like? Is it a particular style, shoulder, waist, hip length that I really like? And really, you can figure out yourself what things that you really love and then go from there. And it's just a matter of the more often that you do this, the better off you're going to start feeling. And this is really a huge way to hack your confidence, especially if you're not wanting to show up online and create videos. So I know a lot of us, women in particular, really don't like to be seen or heard. Well, if you put your fabulous dress on and you put your fabulous lipstick on, it goes a long way in going, you know what, I am going to record that video today. Like I am going to get in front of that camera. That's fine. And then if you do some simple voice tricks, which is something that I do every day before I'm recording something like this, which is a vocal warm up. The easiest way to do a vocal warm up is to type tongue twisters into Google and just read off all the tongue twisters, and you'll be able to soften your vocal cords, which will mean that you'll have a deeper sounding voice. You'll open up your vocal cords, and then you'll be able to enunciate and pronunciate a little more clearly, and then you'll like your the tone of your voice a lot more. I have a whole course that teaches how to hack your tone of voice, which is something a lot of women really don't like when they hear themselves back on camera. They're like, oh my God, do I sound like that? But all of this, again, is just little tricks that we can do to give ourselves just a little confidence boost so that we can take the photo, record the video, get on the audio, whatever it is that we can put our message out there.
I've not done that. I might actually try that because I spent a lot of time behind this microphone. So I'll have to try the tongue twister,
Mhm.
the warm up exercise. This when we're talking about this wow factor, I'm hearing, visually how we're showing up and feeling with ourselves, how we're sounding. Are there other aspects of really growing your wow factor?
So we all think that our message is something that one day we'll wake up and we'll know what our message is, and we'll be able to articulate and communicate our story really easily. And we see these people that we follow online, and they're so good at telling their story, and they've got these incredible arcs in their storyline. Maybe you've thought that about me earlier in the conversation. But these are all things that I have told over and over and over again until I got to the place where I was like, oh, this is the good part of this story, or this is the part that connects really well with people. So, again, when you're looking at people that are doing a great job of communicating, they've probably had a lot of practice. So, again, getting out there and showing up when you're not feeling confident is a way to actually develop confidence. So, we develop confidence by doing insignificant activities over and over again. So, recording a 5-second reel is completely insignificant, but what it's doing for you is just slowly building that confidence muscle of, oh, I know how to show up online. I'm going to tell a quick story today. I'm going to, share a little bit about my story today, see if anyone connects, see if people comment. And this is how you start developing that real storytelling brand and, really getting your message out there to the people that are interested in hearing it.
So the wow factor is building confidence. That's what it is, right? Because when you feel confident within yourself, you just move differently. You make decisions differently. You take risks differently, right? You just do things that you wouldn't typically do before. And confidence does not just show up, right? It comes from, like you just mentioned, it comes from little defining moments, sometimes in 5-second reels or in short conversations or leaning into something, and it builds over time, and then that radiates out. And am I putting all the pieces together, Amber?
You got it, Laura Ora. This is it. And like if you think about sometimes, you share a little piece of your story on social media and then you get comments back and you go, oh, they really like that little piece of my story. So I'm going to share a little bit more the next day. And you see that over time, you eventually start sharing your story very confidently and you've got your brand identity down. And so that's something that's really learnable, teachable.
Yeah. And how are you seeing this impacting business and life then?
I think story is going to be the way of the future. I really think that this is what people are going to be looking for. We're all so starved of connection that we're really wanting to really connect with the person. And, there's so many different ways to share your story. So just go and find the way that's most resonant to you. So, for instance, do you like speaking on audio podcasts? If you do, then go and create your own or go and be a guest on other people's. Do you like getting on video? Then create some YouTube videos, get on video. So, or do you just like being behind the camera and writing beautiful captions? Then create a faceless Instagram. So there are so many different ways that we can share our story today, and you don't have to do the thing that you don't want to do. If it's, if being on camera terrifies you, but you love writing words, then just write beautiful words and grab some stock imagery for it. There's so many beautiful stock imagery on Canva these days. So I think like find the way that you like to communicate and just master it.
That's I love that. It's the permission that we don't need but need to hear sometimes. That you're allowed to do things the way that resonates the most with you.
For sure. I mean, everything is, you can learn how to take a great selfie and you can learn how to show up on camera really beautifully and you can learn how to speak beautifully. But if that's something that you're really not interested in doing, then don't learn it. Go and master the thing that you're great at. I follow a couple of the Twitter bros, like from crypto Twitter, and some of the brand guys have been sprinkled into there. And this one guy's got like a $2 million a year brand, and all he does is write Twitter threads. That's it.
Wow.
You know?
Look, you really can make money doing whatever you love to do.
Yes.
it's
He's
it's
not putting his lipstick on and showing up on video all day long. He's just sitting behind his camera, sitting behind his computer writing threads.
it can work out. Amber, this is fun and so empowering. I think that you radiate a confidence that I think that inspires a lot of people. So I want to make sure that everyone knows where they can find you. So what's the best place to connect with you on the internet?
Yeah, come and find me on Instagram and tell me that you found me on the Gutsy podcast. I'd love to hear from you guys.
Amazing. And we'll put, I think you mentioned a few things throughout, so I'll make sure that we link those
Yeah.
in the show notes,
Look.
and link your book as well. Where can they find the book, by the way, just for anybody that's
Yeah, so the book is on my Instagram handle, or you can just go to ambrenae.com/dream and you can find the book there. And it's really a lot of what we spoke about today in much more detail.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. I would love to know, what does gutsy mean to you?
I think gutsy means getting up and doing it again. So we heard today about my story about how there was a lot of failures and there was a lot of hardships, both personally and professionally. But really, it was the resilience to get up and do it again that has led me to the path, which I know that is the path that I'm supposed to be on today. So gutsy to me really means persevering, even when you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Mm. Love it, love it, love it. My friend, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. Thanks for continuing to show up for you, because by doing that, you're showing up for all of us. So thanks. Do you know what would be kind of fun? I would love to hear what your wow factor is. Don't worry about perfecting it. It doesn't need to be all buttoned up, because I know that's what you're going to try and do. But what's coming to the forefront for you? What makes you you? What is your secret sauce? Or what's something that you're kind of curious and interested in leaning into? You know, it's funny. The thing that I fought for most of my fucking life is actually the thing that attracts most of you into my world. And that is my real, honest, raw vulnerability. So come over and find me. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at that Laura Ora, and tell me, what is your wow factor? What are you leaning into? And you know what? If you DM me, I'll just send you that link to the Foundations podcast so you can learn how to get out of your own head. Two birds. Let's just do it. Listen, this is so much fun. I love and appreciate that you're here. I'll see you next week. And until then, stay gutsy.